Hey Facebook, happy Friday. As promised, I am here live with John Warren.
Hello.
He is owner of the Grand Rapids Health House. He is going to be contributing his wealth of information and expertise to our total body transformation. And I just wanted a chance to introduce him and have him tell you a little bit about his story and what he's trying to do to help better the world.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello. I know it's a little awkward because we're kind of like squished in here. And this is our first interview. Or this is our first live interview, so bear with us as well.
Yeah. So I suppose when you talk about wellness and holistic health and any type of health, it's an ideal and end goal. My end goal is to someday be a clinical psychologist.
Okay.
And I want to incorporate holism. I want to be a holistic psychosomaticist. So I am pursuing my bachelor's at this point. I have a certification in holistic health, certification in personal training, certification in Qigong. I don't hold any certifications, but I teach beginners yoga.
Okay.
And I've been under lots of instruction doing that. Really love it. And I'm a licensed masseur, massage therapist. And really big on logic, philosophy, and how that helps with psychology. And yeah, just the holism. And I also have a minor in linguistics, so I speak.
Like I said, a wealth of information.
Yeah, I've been doing this. I was 17 when I entered my massage therapy program. And so all of this is kind of sprouted from being a Christian and really believing in love and altruism. And then also the Eastern philosophy has been just kind of my viewpoint from, the 10 years of education, self-study, and school that I've gone through. I have an associate's degree at this point. So just... and we all have problems, we all have struggles, and
right.
It's getting that universal of, what is willpower, what is health, and just helping people take the success they do have, and because that's how we notice when something's wrong, is that the yin yang, we know health and we know having from understanding what we don't have,
right?
And then just to take that sphere of knowledge, success, ability, and just to expand it in every direction.
Yeah.
And some people are getting attacked at different fronts. And Freud said your greatest weaknesses will someday be your greatest strengths.
Very true.
So we just got to take what we don't have and just figure out why that is.
Yeah.
And then just apply.
Well, and it's really about, and as you and I have discussed before, it's really about that making a decision, committing to a specific action and then repeating it, and that's how you get better. That's how you build muscle. That's how you build, your brain power. That's how you build better practices. It's all about that empowerment, and it all ties into, that overall health and wellness of really taking that accountability in your life to practice things that make you a better person, right? That practice things that make you healthier, that practice things that make you happier. And isn't that kind of like the ultimate goal of what we're trying to get to as well?
Yeah. There's a Southern saying, if it's good, and it's good. So if you can find one aspect that's good, something you enjoy.
Yeah.
Something maybe you're not good at and that's exciting to do.
Right.
Yeah, you can turn that into a really, really good thing.
Yeah.
That helps the whole of your life. And yeah, So
Well, and one of the things, you guys, that I really like about John, and that I'm very excited to introduce the Grand Rapids Health House. I can't even tell you. John is really trying to transform this into like a holistic center, a place where people can come to learn, where maybe they're not so great in specific areas, to have that one-on-one instruction, that one-on-one coaching that really helps you when life happens. I mean, you and I were talking about that, the life challenges that happens. Like, what do you do when you commit to something? What do you do on the days when it gets rough to continue making that same choice? Like, what do you do when your muscles are sore and you started a new workout program and you don't feel like going? Do you stay in bed, or do you get your butt up and you go anyway? It's really making those key decisions that, again, transform your whole life. That's, and I think you would agree with me, and one of the reasons why we kind of, I think, get along so well is that, in our own ways, we're on a mission to change the world. And we're willing to do that, and wanting to do that through our own education, our own experiences. We're willing to put ourselves out there to help figure out what your needs are, to help figure out the things that can help lift you up, and the things that are going to help you become the most successful you. So that's where John has amazing expertise in so many areas. I mean, all I do when I sit down and talk to him is take notes, because it's really just, it's my learning as well. And with the Grand Rapids Health House, it's going to be a place where you can learn about nutrition, where you can learn about those overall health plans, and the ones, again, that are going to get you to results, the ones that are going to get you to where you want to go. And that's covering the whole basis, from your mind, body, spirit. I mean, it's you pretty much have the whole package here.
Like you said, the days that you wake up and you're too sore to go to the gym. Well, with that holistic approach, maybe you need a massage,
Right.
and you can get your mitochondria boosted 300%, and lose weight,
Yeah.
and gain muscle mass,
Right.
and you got a massage. And there's just so many different avenues to success that, and then learning, having someone. I've lost 80 pounds personally.
Yeah, I was just gonna have you tell your story a little bit of what you've went through.
Yeah, and part of a personal coach isn't, like we talked about, someone on our team worked with Julian Michaels, and just go,
Right.
go. And that's great, but sometimes, you got to know when and how to put the brakes on, and that is like, well, you actually won't be able to walk if you do this.
And that's where he helps balance me out, because do or die, I have Jillian Michaels in my head. And after our first workout together, I put myself through way more hell than he did.
I've done her DVDs.
Yeah, and what happened is I could barely bend or walk the next couple of days. So next time I'm going to actually concede and give my attention over to exactly what John's telling me to do, because lesson learned, that's not going harder and faster and everything like that is not always the best approach. So this is where I think we really complement each other as well.
Yeah, you don't want to give up anything in that pursuit for speed and ability, and you don't want to give up your agility or happiness, or you don't want to give up your tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Or with the DOS, delayed onset soreness, you don't want to give up 2 or 3 days from now. But,
it's always that second day, right?
yeah. So yeah, and that's what's great about holistic health, is there is that time to, while you're stretching, have someone talk about your day, or I have a lot of work issues, just social issues come up, and just be worthy of your suffering, and just people are being illogical and mean, and just to kind of take it on the other cheek, so to say, and at least I'm in the right, and at least I'm doing what's good, and just to kind of help people with that and their mindsets.
Yeah.
And so, you can kind of not have the higher ground
Right.
per se just to have it, but actually, be like, not get caught up in all that stuff.
Right.
And,
well, and mindset is everything. If you don't have, if you're not willing to look at things in your life that aren't working for you, if you're not willing and you're closed off to that, you're not going to get very far. Because it does take that practice of becoming aware and, saying, hey, this isn't maybe, and oh my God, I've had so many of them in my life. I don't even know where to start. Those patterns that don't do you any good. But we continue to do them over and over until the pain basically becomes too much or the price gets too much to pay. And then we're like, oh, maybe I should make a different decision, and whether that's in regards to your health. Sometimes it takes somebody getting really sick to make different choices. Sometimes it takes losing mobility of your entire body. Sometimes it's putting on so much extra weight that we just become miserable. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that we do this, and again, props to John and people like John that are going out there and trying to make a difference in other people's lives and trying to help. Not only. It's not about creating that motivation for somebody else, because you can only motivate somebody to the point that until they leave. You know what I mean? Until they leave and have a life experience that's going to drain their motivation. And if you've filled them up and that's all that they've gotten, that doesn't really get them very far. Hi, Caddy. But if you can teach somebody how to dig in and find that in themselves, like you and I were talking about, it's the practitioner that makes themselves not needed. Right? Mm-hmm. It's that teaching you and helping you educate yourself to get your best results for your body, for your lifestyle, and for what fits best for you. And one of the really great things about John is that he does that in a very simplistic level. He can come down and work one-on-one with somebody and keep it very simple and keep that plan so you understand it. So so it's not so overwhelming, and you can break it down into, little steps to get you towards your end goal. And I think that that's one of the things that's really great, like we were talking about, is doing that for somebody that may be overwhelmed, somebody that doesn't know where to start, and having like the whole holistic wealth and health and all of that whole thing hit somebody. It can be very overwhelming for people.
Yeah, unfortunately, with the way the medical system works in the clinical setting, people really don't seek out help until they've broken down.
Right.
There's not a lot of maintenance going on, and it's not always that people have the failed process, like you were saying, you just use the same thing over and over again. There's a lot of things in this world that if you do the right thing, you will get hurt and you will get worn out. Mm-hmm. It's not always, but I think one thing we're trying to do is build a community mm-hmm. of people that are trying to do what's right. And
absolutely,
there's always a better.
There's always a better.
I'm sure some people are best in certain ways, but yeah, we're good people, at least trying to be, mm-hmm. and intent is a lot. A good start is the job half done. So I think we are we want to be, and we've started trying to better ourselves, mm-hmm. and spent a lot of time doing that in the past. And I think we're ready to go full force. And if anyone wants to be a part of that, just sometimes having a good person to talk to, and it's not all about paying money to do that.
It's the collaboration, I really feel like at times can also spring forth like new ideas and new innovations and new ways of like, hey, I didn't think about this before, or bringing different personalities together, or a different skill set together of, again, people that really complement each other in different ways.
And definitely there are people that are using the wrong ways, but it's just, when you work the 40-hour work week, you got kids, or this is just our expertise. Mm-hmm. This is what we put time into, and all the information and all. You can. I've probably utilized 10% of everything I've ever studied. There's a lot of conflicting knowledge out there, mm-hmm. and so it's just a matter of time. So if people can take that time out of their week or their month and go to a holistic health coach and just get set in not a different direction, but just rebalanced.
Hmm. Absolutely. Well, and there are so many things, going on right now too. It is literally fighting for your attention. It's there. It's fighting for your focus. It's fighting to, we're being reprogrammed in a lot of different ways with our TV, with advertising, with, again, like you were saying, kind of all of that conflicting information. And I'll tell you that, it's for me, it's not about me telling somebody that it's right. It's not about me saying, "Oh, here's what you should do that's going to be right for you every single time." No, I mean, take what you're learning from other places. I mean, we encourage that, that knowledge, that yearning for knowledge and going and seeking out what's true for you. We just know that through our expertise that we're helping build that foundation, to get you started, to get you that forward momentum to help, and you may have something that works great for you and something that doesn't. And honestly, I mean, you're the only one that's going to be able to determine if it's something for you or something that it doesn't fit in your lifestyle. And again, it's through asking better questions. It's through
Knowing the questions to ask.
knowing the questions to ask are huge. You ask better questions, you get better answers. That's huge. And too, like just changing that perspective, because we have a lot of limiting beliefs as people, and 99.9% of us are harder on ourselves than we are on anybody else. And that's a direct reflection of striving for perfection, or holding beliefs, a belief system that may not be true or may not be an empowering belief system for us. So if you can change that story that's going on in your head, if you can change that perspective a little bit, you change the game. You change the game. And if you get somebody in here and somebody wants to, work out, and, they've had certain areas that they've been struggling with, and you can help them, get out of that limitation, we have so much potential. We have so much potential. We are so much stronger than we know. And I feel like with you working one-on-one with people, that really draws that out in people. Like that really, you get to the heart of that.
Yeah, and it's all interconnected. This Newtonian theory that we are like robots, and um, one gadget, one wheel turns the other. It really is. If you have that perspective, you're going to work out better.
Yeah.
You're going to work out harder.
Right.
And if you have that perspective, that maturity to not only what workouts you're doing, when, right, but how you're doing them,
right,
and not mistaking environment for effort. You can show up at the gym, you can be there for an hour, but you might not be getting the results that someone that treats their workout like an MMA fight.
Right.
They get in there, they beat the old guy that they were up,
right,
and they get out.
Right.
And to do that HIIT training, or someone that's been doing the HIIT training and they're comfortable with that, to slow down and do slow burns,
right,
or just to keep the body guessing. And if you can keep that perspective, not that there is one perspective to gain, but the perspective that variety is the spice of life.
Right. Well, in being flexible, and I mean, in all areas of life, is just a good skill to master. I mean, because life happens, and you can have these defined things that if this happens, then I'll be happy. If this happens, then whatever. But that may never come to fruition. That may never become a possibility. But what you can control is right now, in the decisions that you're making, you can control your actions. And so you build upon that.
Yeah, we were talking about the ego and how people, they create their idea of themselves by what they are not. And most people want things, or they want a status, they want a nice looking body, because they believe that will make them into a different person. And it would, because if you are that person with that status, that body, that mentality, you are going to be different than someone who doesn't have that.
Right.
the choice is to do it now and to live in that wish fulfilled. It's true. You are what you do,
Hmm.
and if you can choose to connect to doing with the mentality and viewpoint of yourself and eliminate that ego of, well, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm this. So you can be whatever you choose to be, and um, that's about it. And
Yeah.
then experiencing that feeling is tantamount to any other experience, really, and just to constantly keep that with you, and it will make you better. Um,
Well, and it'll get you through those times when life happens. It'll get you through, like, keeping close to that, and knowing, I would say, not knowing necessarily. I mean, knowing your goals is so important, but knowing what it is that you're really after. I mean, when we say we want to lose weight, we want to do this, we want to do that, that's not really the root of what we're wanting. We're wanting to feel happier, we're wanting to feel more connected with other people, we're
yeah.
wanting all of these things that are underlying. That's why I think that there are so many people, actors, actresses, people that have all the money in the world, people that have these amazing bodies, and they're miserable. They are, unfortunately, somebody like Robin Williams, and all of the drugs that are being used and all of that stuff. So, it's not just about getting a better body. It's not just about, getting even the status that you were talking about, because you can get there,
And
and
then
lo and
people will
be.
hate you for it, or you could be trying to impress people, and just there's environmental factors, and
Yeah.
other people's idea. You don't ever really know unless you're some sort of mind reader. Which, if you're a mind reader, I don't know why you'd want to do anything else. Just go to the park, or
Right.
um, yeah, you never really. All you're ever gonna know is what you think of you, and you
Hmm.
got to find out. And that's life, and
And that's worth finding out. I mean, knowing yourself and getting to know yourself, and again, if it takes going to, a holistic life coach, if it takes, going to somebody outside your comfort zone that knows how to ask those questions, that knows how to get to the root cause of what's going on, and that can be, whether you're unsatisfied in your career, whether you're unsatisfied with your body, whether you're unsatisfied, whatever areas, in your life that you think or you want improvement on, those skills, and having somebody that knows how to use those skills, to have a conversation with you and to be able to actively listen, read your communication, and then be able to translate that back to you in a simplistic way to create that effort. That's huge. I mean, to me, that is huge. And I know that that's where I fumbled a lot, is not, reaching out to somebody like that can help me at times when I get stuck, not reaching out to that expertise when, I think that I can do everything myself, and it's just simply not true.
yeah,
I mean, as much as I would love to believe that, it's not true.
it's just something that gets pushed out of the way. For me, it was always financial.
Hmm.
Most of my problems came from not having money and trying
Yeah.
to seek it. And, you bump into people that you're like, I just have to put up with this guy.
Right.
Because we get our checks from the same place.
Right.
Um, or girl, whatever. So, yeah. And, but that's another thing we're trying to do, is be financially available
Yeah.
to people, as far as being down to earth, and
Yeah.
we understand that, and that's why this facility, it's being run out of my house, Grand Rapids Health House, and
So explain a little bit. So we've talked about kind of, a little bit about John's story, and your skills that you're bringing to each and every one of your clients. Let's talk about what you have to offer here for people.
yeah, as far as the facility, we have a nice wooded floor space, and where we do yoga and qigong and lightweights and body weight workouts. We have a big screen TV,
You
and
say light weights. How? But you have your weights go up to.
yeah, up to 55.
Okay.
Um,
For most of us, it's
but
not.
yeah, we got the rubber weights on the wood floor, and then we have an outdoor facility with kind of a CrossFit type thing. Anything you would need to do CrossFit. Got a big giant tire. And
You also have a tanning bed.
You have a tanning bed.
Yeah.
Which is great for tanning beds are not, the sun, which, but living in Michigan, the tanning bed for the SAD, anyone that's living with seasonal adaptation, depression, and then also for your bones and just the vitamin D for your health.
Yeah.
And then we have a massage room that's top of the line, got a K laser.
Yeah. Fancy stuff.
Yeah, the K laser, it goes with the massage that you purchase, and I mean it's about worth the massage.
Yeah.
If you don't have insurance, you can go to you'd still pay $15 for the treatment with insurance. And I love doing what I do, and I love helping people the way I help people, and I like being part of society that way. And so everything, I try to bring top of the line. I put a lot into my body as far as losing weight and building muscle and getting that the door swings both ways. And it's been quite a journey of mine. And I've had people that, I remember being a really, really just big guy and, being embarrassed to, put on a t-shirt and not wear a sweatshirt and go into a gym. And I had the owner of the gym just like kind of take me under his wing. And I've had big guys that let me shadow them and work out with them. And so, you do the pay it forward thing. And It's a huge thing with you. And we kind of bounce that back meeting each other in the state we're in. But
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have a huge draw to help people, and this is what this facility has been about, is to kind of pay it forward, and this is the life I want to live, and I want people to show up and be able to do that. And with the preventative, and there's always new problems filtering into people's lives, and people think there's going to be this place where they're going to have no environmental willpower zappers, but truth is, the faster you go, the easier it is to fall down. And there's you're always going to need a push. You're always going to need new techniques to get that variance. And but I do want to get people to a point where they don't need me anymore, and where they have the resources that I have to gain the information. And but we do have a nice facility, and if people are looking for a consistent place to show up and get a great workout, we have everything for them.
Well, and I think with just the basis that you're covering from, like I said, from the mind, body to the spirit, and we're also going to be bringing on, some other people that our expertise is kind of in their own field. So a couple of the things that we were talking about with like the nutrition aspect of it, that's really like the supplemental aspect of it, getting your body like the basic stuff to get back to a balance. That's one of the things that I bring to the table. We're probably going to be partnering with some people as far as, like financial advisors, I would say, because your wealth is just as important as your health is, because you really don't have one without the other. And again, we're trying to create that community of knowledge, those big pillars that you need to, have the dreams and go after those, and to be able to live that life that you want to live. It's completely possible, and it's really not as hard as we make it out to be. It just takes different, steps, and maybe, some refinement of those steps, I guess, refinement of the practice. Sometimes that can be
Acceptance
a 180.
Of the flaws. No.
Acceptance of the flaws. I don't know. I'm trying to say like what that is, because I know some areas in my life, it did take a 180. When I woke up, I was smoking a couple packs of cigarettes a day. I was drinking a huge bottle of wine a night. I was in a corporate job. I was making great money, but I was miserable. And I wanted to die. And I was on sleeping medication and pain medication and antidepressants and birth control and eating my weight in sugar a day. I was practicing all of those things. So when I changed my life, those habits did do a 180 in my life. But there are different And when I started my practice and when I started into like the personal development of it, I just started with one thing at a time that I repeated until I made it a practice. And then I added something else. And then I added something else. So, because what I see a lot of the times is people are like, oh yeah, I'm ready to do this. I'm going to change everything, and they try and change everything all at one time without ever practicing any of it first. And they take on too much, they become overwhelmed, and then they stop. They're just like, that's it, I failed, we're giving up. And that's what I see a lot of people do. And that was a detriment to myself too, is I was like, oh, if I can't be perfect at every single thing that I'm taking on right now, even though I'm taking on 100 new things that I've never done before, if I can't be perfect at it, and I'm just going to give up on it, or I'm not even going to try, because in my mind, I already failed. Like, I already saw that failure. So one of the things I think that's going to be really key about what John is doing as well is that seeing that change, getting that mindset again into visualizing your success, right? And
yeah, I love that mentality of, yeah, let's go. Let's do this. I mean, I've done that, and it worked out really well for that short stitch of time. And,
right.
And there is a time for that, to let people run wild. But,
well, I mean, lessons learned, right? It's also about, if when you do fail, like, learn the lessons quickly, get back up.
And that's where the mindset comes in. If you can get really good at knowing yourself, but get really good at being conscious,
mm-hmm.
being conscientious of yourself, and the mind-body connection and paradigm of, like, okay, so yeah, let's turn it up. Let's turn it up 30%.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go 90.
Right.
Or let's go 100. And then if you can just get people to be able to be preventative and get in that preventative mindset, mm-hmm. where they can realize, oh, so this is where I'm going. I can already feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of like waking up in the morning and not being able to use your knees.
Right.
If you can, and that's part of the journey, and it takes, upping up the ante a little bit to get that. But just if you can get a more finite palette, for your life.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the things is you kind of touched upon something in that, I relate to, and with all the personal development stuff, it's finding out your why. Finding out what your why is, because holding on to, that I want to change the world. I want to make this world a better place.
A man with a why can withstand almost any how.
Right?
Yeah, I think that is Frankel. Yeah.
But having that, and also developing, helping somebody develop their why, because I think a lot of the things, why
are you drinking wine and sugar and...
I mean, I wanted to get out of my state. I mean, I was in a terrible state. I was in a stressful state. I was in an unhappy place, and I wanted that instant gratification of changing my state right away.
Like escapism.
So the sugar did that. The drugs did that. All of that, it affected my state, and it was because literally I was practicing something in an environment that was not for my why. My why is to help empower people. My why is to create that passion with somebody else, so that has a ripple effect. That creates a spark. That's where my heart has always lied. And when I worked against that in my life, the ramifications of that were all of the bad habits. So when I got in touch with my why and what I really wanted to do, that was my driving force. That was my urgency to want to change. And it didn't matter what happened in life, because I had to look at, for instance, and I think I told you this, when I got that phone call about, my dad trying to commit suicide. And I had that conversation with myself about how I wanted that to affect me. And was I going to let that take me down, where I couldn't go out and have the effect that I wanted to have. So I had to make a choice, and I had to make a personal choice with me to how I was going to handle that situation, because nobody tells us, especially in situations like that, how to handle it. But it's how we handle it. That's where we build our skills. That's where it's like, again, waking up in the morning, and when you don't feel like going to the gym, when you're tired and you're sore, or it's crappy outside, or whatever those things can be that we use as excuses, like, how do you get to, nope, I'm doing this anyway? And to me, that's grasping that why. Because when I know now in life, when I have those roadblocks or brick walls that I run into, and it hurts, and I have to, or rejection, or whatever it is that you're going through, when I stop and go, okay, at that point I have a decision to quit, and I don't. But I've had to practice that not quitting over and over and over again, to build that skill of just going, nope, I'm not letting anything stop me. This why is too important. The world needs a change. And, I've just taken it upon myself that, for me personally, that's my mission. My mission is to go and change the world. And now, connecting with other people, it sounds like there's a plethora of people out there. There's a plethora of people out there that are on the same mission. It may be in different ways, but it sounds like, with what you're trying to do, that's your why too.
Yeah, there really are, and this might be a little too deep, and maybe
you too deep? No way.
A stretch. But that we battle good in people and evil in people. It's not like there's just these two sides in the world,
right?
It's good versus evil, and it's just kind of like a bad book. But I think everyone has that inside of them, and whether it's waking it up or just having the good side of people, or the good in people, just not as beaten down, not as used in not knowing what to do, because it's living is death. I mean, so you could just sit all day and waste your life. I mean, doing bad is really easy, but then you could go out and try to do good and fail.
Yeah.
So, I mean, doing good is, and then trying to help other people can be tough too, because, who are you and all that jazz. But yeah, it is tough to do good.
Yeah.
And it's tough to do good to other people, because it's like, man, I could ruin my own life just sitting on a couch all day. I could ruin my own life just on my own very easily. But, it is really hard to do well without other people.
Yeah.
Because that's part of being human. I mean,
right.
As much as you're not a monster, you are a humanitarian.
Right.
And
well, and that speaks to the whole one tribe, right? We're stronger as a we.
I love that name.
Yeah.
You keep thinking about maybe other names. I'm like, no, we're one tribe.
Yeah, and that's that's how we're collaborating together. That's what we're building, is we're building one tribe, because we are all stronger as a we. So, and we're taking on that, again, we're not perfect. Again, there are plenty of opportunities that we are going to learn life's lessons, and to fail hard. But I think our commitment is to you, is that we're not quitting, we're not giving up. And I can already tell about you, you're pretty determined, and me too. I mean,
well, what you see in me is a result of a lot of hesitancy and respect for all the fields that I'm into, because I understand people have taken the time that I've taken in Qigong, massage therapy, personal training, psychology, music therapy. That's what they do. That's when I kind of consider myself a beginner's intermediate facilitator, but I am if you're looking for a 3-month program, or you're looking for some direction, like, I'm your guy, because I have so many different avenues, and somebody might have a strength in what I do.
Right.
Which I am an expertise at everything I do. I don't mean to sell myself too short and to discourage anyone from seeing me in any certain way, but and I will let you know when I don't know that. I would have to research that for a couple days, and maybe I'll see you next time with more information. I'm totally willing to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm growing as I'm learning how to teach too, and
well, and as leaders, I feel like that's the best thing that we can provide is that willingness to always strive to be better. There are always ways that we can make improvements. There are always ways that we can gain clarity and to strive for more.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes us
that's the
relatable.
greats. Yeah. And I mean, but those are the great people. Like, I know my personal mentor, Tony Robbins. I mean, his story is amazing, and holy moly, how much life did he have happen to him to build what he's doing right now, and look at his impact in the world. I mean, he literally feeds billions of people.
And he learned from
Jim Rohn.
Yeah.
Well, Jim Rohn was one of his mentors for sure.
And that's a big thing that you say you learn from me,
Yeah.
and I glean so much off of you in an intuitive, spiritual sense.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly because you make me excited about my knowledge.
I get excited about it. I'm like, hold on, let me take this down if I can record.
But with your financial stuff, and then your vitamin
Mm-hmm.
knowledge, that's something I don't. I haven't delved into as deeply.
Mm-hmm.
I take all my vitamins, the basics, and I know what they're good for usually. But
Right.
as far as like you were like, well, you want it to be you knew like
the non-synthetic version of B12, by the way. The methylcobalamin, not the cytocobalamin.
Which luckily I had. But, I usually outlet that to where I go.
Right.
And I trust where I shop it, but even that's not always.
Well, and I'll tell you, by just looking at one of the labels, there's some room for improvement on education there as well. Just because, again, if you're trying to do all these things, and again, take those. Take the things that you learn and see if they apply to you. Take the things that you learn and be willing to look at them. And if they're, and be able to educate yourself on them as well, because it's the whole personal, I mean, we can want this for anybody, right? I mean, you can have a client that you're like, oh, I want you to do so well. I want you to do so well. But bottom line is if you don't want it, we can't want it enough for you. It's not gonna last. It's again, it's just pumping you up for the next time that life knocks you down, where you're like, oh, so it's really about that intentional taking ownership, the taking ownership of your actions, taking ownership of your awareness, and then
that's where the reward comes in.
That's the bread and butter of it, right?
Yeah, it's a sad truth, and. Yeah, we're such do this for money, do this for fame, do this for, instant gratification. We're such an extrinsically motivated society, and we consider ourselves individualists. But it's funny, the yin yang, the paradox is when everyone's trying to be the best. It's kind of being the best that matters, and there's people that are really willing to sell you the idea of what's best.
Right.
And part of selling something to someone is to make it easy for them to get.
Right.
The easier it is for them to get, and the more they're willing to give you for the access.
Yeah.
And so there's people that are taking a lot and they're selling stuff really cheap.
Yeah.
And it's just really fluff, mass-produced stuff.
Yeah.
You can get all your daily calories from a Whopper.
And I have firsthand, knowledge of people that are being sold that in the, different work environments that I have, where people are being sold on the magic pill. They're being sold on this idea that it's not going to be that hard. And it can be simple. But if you think that it's going to be easy, I would say that that's probably not a very successful mindset, because what happens is when you take on something new, when you get out of your comfort zone, yeah, it hurts. It hurts. And I will tell you that wake up moment that I had when I had let myself become a complete and hot mess, that realization and that awareness of making those changes, that was not a comfortable feeling for me at all. I mean, I had to face some things about my own sense of self-love, because I really hadn't practiced any of that in my life. I hadn't practiced self-love. I mean, I was smoking and drinking and all of this stuff that I kind of forgot to take care of, like the one amazing thing that I have in this world, and that's my body, and that's my soul, and that's my mind, and I neglected all of that. So, one thing that happens, I think, when you get to that moment, when you're ready to really make changes in your life, when you're ready to really build on, create a new foundation, is just accepting that, maybe your past decisions had got you where you are right now. And if you're conscious, if you can move your body, if you can take deep breaths without struggling, you've got a gift. I mean, and you can say thank you wherever you are. There's always something to be thankful for. And from there, you can start a new future not defined on your past, not defined. Like you've got that choice at any moment to make a better decision.
Yeah, and Sisyphus, he was the demigod.
Sisyphus?
Sisyphus.
Say that 10 times.
Sisyphus, he was doomed to roll a rock that would grow.
Okay.
The further up the mountain, Mount Olympus.
Okay.
And when he finally got the rock at the top, it would roll down to the bottom again.
Okay.
And he was immortal, so this was his fate for eternity.
Okay.
And he would grow and grow and grow, but his task would remain the same.
Okay.
And Camus said, we must imagine Sisyphus as happy. So it's not always what you achieve, because when you get to the top, one of the things that gets you to the top is that self-awareness.
Right.
Because how can you get to the top without being aware what you need to do,
right.
how you need to get there, why, and having that self-acknowledgement. But there's always going to be another tier that person that you become wants to get to.
Absolutely.
So you're always going to be climbing up the mountain, and it is the climb.
That's the whole point. That's the whole point.
Yeah. And you have life, and any decision you make is with life, which sounds really basic. Like, yeah, you use life to think, and every choice you make should be used to prolong life and to make life bigger, better, and you should be seeking out to live longer and to have a more fulfilling life, so you can make clearer, more deep choices. And you will be rewarded with the climb. You will become stronger and
right.
better at pushing the boulder up the mountain,
right.
so to say. And it'll make you happier.
Yeah. I completely agree with that. And I think going into, whatever kind of, if you're looking to grow, if you're looking to transform, if you're looking to just, better your health in any way, I think, again, recognizing that you expect to have a little bit of that being uncomfortable, especially, again, if it's something that you haven't practiced before, and that's okay. That's where you build your strength. That's where, and kind of like you and I were talking about, when you get to that muscle fatigue, like when you've, and I don't know how you put it, but when you're doing something and you've gotten everything you can out of that muscle, you're not doing that at a comfortable, necessarily, like, weight, right? I mean, in order to build muscle, you do have to increase your weight. You do have to increase the resistance.
Well, you will learn to associate that awfulness with
I love it now, but
yeah, once you get the I want to work out, and then you get the behavior of working out, and you'll get the reward, and you will subconsciously, consciously, depending on how much time you spend in the mirror, you will link those two things together, and you'll, when you're sore, you'll be like, yes.
It becomes a good sore. I will say maybe I overdid it.
That initial stage is where it's great to have someone be like, you really should. They say the word "should" with like an excitement of like, this will be good for your happiness. Like,
right.
You really should do this.
Right.
And people are like, what?
No. Well, and again, you said something too. It's that, so a lot of the times, what we don't recognize, what we don't think about, is that usually instant gratification leads to long-term pain. And usually instant pain. I don't want to say pain necessarily, but it's that uncomfortable. It's that stretching yourself where further than you thought you could go. That is actually what leads to long-term pleasure. So again, it's about flipping that mindset and finding the leverage in yourself to desire the long-term pleasure better or more than you desire the instant gratification.
Yeah, and if you can take that, what makes you perform that temporal dissonance where you disconnect from your sense of timing?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if I do this now, later, this will happen. I eat the candy bar.
Right.
I gain weight.
Right.
Once on the hips or once on the lips.
Lifetime on the hips.
Nothing tastes as good as skinny feels.
We should.
Yeah. When we get that temporal dissonance, when we go in for the instant gratification, that is something. And if you can take a step back and get that self-awareness of like, what is this? And you actually enjoy the temptation. One thing I say is talking to the snake is fun enough.
Right.
So if you can just be mindful of that, that's kind of enjoyable to be like, ooh, like, will I?
Yeah.
And usually if you can stay in that mindset long enough, studies show that that's what will make you successful as far as willpower, is realizing that, if you can be aware of your rote behaviors and just have that self-conscientiousness of like, this is what I do.
Right.
Like,
right.
This is what I'm doing right now.
Right.
And then kind of like be able to laugh at yourself, or
right.
even like maybe get mad at yourself, and just kind of enjoy that thought of like, okay, like, and just learn to love yourself. And one part of when you love someone is to look at when they're being jerks or brats or stupid. You're just like, I love you.
Right.
And if you can do that to yourself,
right.
and be like, no, you don't freaking need a candy bar or whatever.
Put the candy bar down. You don't need it. How is that going to get you further towards your dream? Usually not for me, because it usually is like, no, that's actually taking 2 steps backwards.
And people really, that really is something. It really is a part of life, that temptation. And people learn to skip over the temptation so fast and just do it.
Right.
And even if you do end up doing it, make sure that you take that time to like think about who you are as far as preset of heuristics and behavioral patterns,
right?
And realize it about yourself.
Well, and it's also recognizing the thought process that happens, right? Yeah. Because then, from the personal development aspect of it, if you can know what your triggers are, because, we're visual creatures, we're auditory creatures, we're kinesthetic creature. Can you, no.
Sensual.
Well, yeah. I mean, like based on touch and
space,
feel,
space coordination.
So there may be triggers all over the place, that you're hearing something which triggers you to picture something in your head. So there are patterns with that, and that's one thing that Tony Robbins is huge on, is figuring out the 3 or 4 steps that gets you to a thought process, that gets you to a certain behavior. Because if you can replace that behavior with the same triggers, you can change the behavior completely.
Replacement stimuli.
Yes. So, there's lots of, and again, there's just so much out there that you can work with. And really, I think the thing is just getting people to a place where they're willing to commit to whatever it takes to get themselves there.
Yeah. And I think of diet. I think of, there's just, there's a lot of people out there trying to make money, and people that with the most money are making the most money, and they're doing it most effectively with not the best products. But,
right.
With my research and other, sources, mostly online, there's so many people with amazing products out there with replacement stimuli for pop. That's healthy for you and tastes super good.
Yeah.
And, the Zevia, Zevia, I know at my Meyer, it's on the back side of all the drinks by the alcohol. But it's kind of tucked away, but if you go to most health food stores, that's the pop they sell. But man, well,
and I'm a big believer too, as far as like the nutrition aspect, from what I've seen, is that a lot of our cravings and the behaviors are based off us not feeling well, or imbalances in our body, imbalances in our guts, imbalances with our thyroid, different things like that that cause us to crave sugar more, that cause us to, crave foods that aren't bad or that are bad for us. Because there's your hormones, the two main hormones in your gut, the one that tells you that you're hungry and the one that tells you that you're full, when that gets out of balance, when yeah, when your cortisol levels spike, and you can't sleep, and that creates a ripple effect. So again, it's addressing all of those things and addressing those with the highest quality standards that we have. And I think that that's one thing that both you and I wholeheartedly agree and stand behind. It's that level of integrity. It's that level of,
it really is integrity.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, because to me, I mean, and I have so many people that come to me overwhelmed with different things, and I don't take that responsibility lightly. I mean, I take that very much into, again, if I don't know, you bet your ass that I'm going to go find out who does, and somebody that, I trust and that I believe, maybe somebody that's at a higher level than I am with different things, somebody that's got, more time into the practice, somebody, again, that I trust, because, in a world of information, it's easy to get lost. It's easy to get lost into indecision, to feeling overwhelmed, to never really taking a step in any direction because of that. So, again, I think when you have that integrity of, leaders, with what we're trying to do, it's that foundation that we're building upon. It's that impact that we want to have, across the world. It's that, and you have to do that with integrity. And I think that that's where, again, the more people that you bring in that have those same values, the more you can bounce ideas off of each other, but the more you can also kind of keep yourself accountable to that, right? Because I know there are times when I may not hold myself 100% accountable, but having somebody else there, and somebody, like John, that I trust, that I put a lot of faith into, that's going to help me, in the next 12 weeks go through this total body transformation as well. Not only am I doing this, so other people can get involved, I'm going to be putting myself through this as well. So, here's where I'm really relying on the expertise of John and his skills to help me get to my best place, and I feel like too, as leaders, what we can do, and the best thing that we can do, is lead by example. There are people out there that are going to tell you one thing, that are going to talk to you until they're blue in the face, until you're blue in the face. But again, if there's fallacy in their actions, to me, that's not a very good leader. And I feel like a leader accepts responsibility for their faults, but also tries to every day make improvements on them.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do this facility for a long time, which has involved a lot of financial health, something that I'm bad at, which, and you talked about teamwork, and, and it's crazy. You can meet someone out on the street, you can hand a hobo some money or something, and they'll just say the most inspiring thing, or they'll give you the saddest story of why they're there, and just the fact that they cared enough to let that bring them to that low point, or just, just there's so many good things about people that, do bring them down. Some people are just jerks and they don't think two seconds about it. There's so much inspiration anywhere you look.
Right.
And what am I trying to say with this? Yeah, and if you're not taking from your clients, if you're not taking motivation to, that is one of the reasons why I wanted to be a personal trainer, is because I have this natural propensity to overeat, and be gluttonous and lazy. And yeah, I think that's a huge part of it, is placing yourself in a place for success. And that's another thing we want to do is, and we recognize, okay, someone who's smoking cigarettes, binge drinking and overeating, and they don't think for a second that they could ever, they don't even want for a second to be a personal trainer or nutritionist or something like that. But we're trying to grow this community and give people that that chance to be like, well, would I like to do that?
Right. Or what would I like to do?
Yeah. Because there's things where we're gonna find, I'm sure, that, it's like, this would be awesome to have this person
Right.
um, as part of our team. And, you never know where we could maybe encourage. I don't know. It's really tentative at this point right now, but what we do have is our expertise and what we are good at. But
and we're going to keep building that connection as well, with people that are kind of on the same mission out there. And that can be, one of the things that, I'm really excited about doing is bringing other people. We're going to be bringing them into the Grand Rapids Health House, and we're going to be interviewing them. And these are people that are, on their own mission to change the world. And that's going to be through music therapy. That's going to be through, again, nutrition and fitness and all of that, and really helping promote these other people as well, to become part of this community, and to help uplift them, because, the more people that we can, and I'm all about, I told you with One Tribe before, it's all about, to me, not all about, but it's cultivating leaders, because, again, as a leader, if we all decided to take a step up, I mean, think about where the world could be. I hear so many people complaining about, the sad state of affairs that our world is in, but we're still not doing anything to better ourselves or to change ourselves. We're, more so looking at the outside world saying, oh, it's never going to change, pointing the finger at why everything is wrong. But if we all took some of that ownership on ourselves, if we really could take some huge forward actions to make these changes that the world needs.
Yeah, and I mean, it's at a point now where it's bad. I mean, if you
It's
look at
bad.
just
It's bad. We're mean to each other. We're so mean to each other.
we look at the ocean, and
Oh
yeah, I mean, just any place in the world you want to look, there's a universal flaw that's going on, and
yeah.
uh,
But in that aspect, I do want to say this, because, and it's easy, I think, to let that overwhelm you, to let the state of the world right now make you feel helpless and hopeless and all of that. But I guarantee, and this is a practice that all of us can do, again, if you're awake and aware, and you're breathing, and if you can look around, if you can hear something beautiful, if you can taste something wonderful, you have something to be thankful for. And I guarantee that we all can look around and have 10 million things to be thankful for. So again, I don't want, people, when they get caught up in what they focus on, and the bad will always be there, right? I mean, if you're looking for the bad, you'll find it, and it's usually the easiest thing around. But if you can start conditioning and looking at the things, and one thing that I did is, these life circumstances were knocking me down, is it was asking myself the question of, what's the gift? Because if I had a situation where, like getting the news about my sister,
I am the
where
gift.
you are the gift. See, I will always have an answer for what's the gift. It will always be John. But when you have those circumstances, and that really, or that they're gonna happen, we can't avoid those, and we have no control over that. But again, we have control over our perspective. We have control over, I'm thankful. I mean, I'm wearing nice clothes. I mean, I've got food in my belly. I'm sitting with a wonderful friend, a business partner, somebody that that inspires me. We're in this beautiful house. You've got all of these amazing things that you're offering to people. I mean, there are just, the list can go on. And if you start practicing that and start looking for that, what happens is that your mind will start looking for the good before it starts looking for the bad. And when you see the good, you create more of it. It's just the way of, and I don't know if that's law of attraction, or if that's just, higher vibration, but that's just simply truth. That just happens.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I think it's the holistic aspect again is to be balanced, and not to live in a world with rose-colored glasses all the time, but to see the bad, and to have confidence, and to know that there's somebody out there that, I bet you I could call them up, or, ask them what they think of this, and there's much wisdom and much counsel, and just we're here, and we this is what we've and no matter what you do, I mean, I went on a tangent about, well, maybe you want to become this or that in the nutrition field, but if you are a banker or if you are someone, I mean, we understand that this is all part of the system.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we want to do, and we want to help someone go to work being, what have you, whatever it is you do. I used to work at a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that.
Love what you do. I mean, to me, that's about what it is.
And maybe they can be better at that because they have vitamin D and or vitamin B and niacin, so they have all this motivation
or Rejuvenex and B12.
We just want to be whatever it is you do. Everyone knows you can always do something better, or and even if you are doing as best as you can, that will grow that ability.
Absolutely. Well, and I think, bottom line, I think we want to be here to be able to support you through that. We want to be here to support each other through that. And again, as we build that community, we want to expand that support because, again, in my mind, the more we can lift each other up, the better off we're going to be. The better this world is going to be, the better our environment is going to be. I mean, and people gravitate towards that.
Yeah, if you eat all organic food, you're not throwing stuff. I don't even use the garbage bin that I have when I bought the place. I only recycle. I buy all organic food, and I just make sure I eat it all. Nothing goes to waste. Helps me diet, and then I take the plastic containers or whatever, and I recycle. I mean, I don't use any garbage, and that's not something I aimed at. It's just when something's good, it's good.
It's good.
And yeah, so I mean, I just chose to eat healthy, like really healthy, and I don't have any waste that I can't put into compost.
Yeah, well, and that's huge. That is huge.
And it feels really really satisfying when you see news or see something about.
Well, and when we have something that's so beautiful like this life, I mean, because we were given this gift. I mean, it took, and the more that I'm listening to these different things, the more I'm hearing about it. I mean, for everything to come to create me and everything that came to create you.
Was everything.
Yeah, I mean, that, like, we really have this amazing experience, and it should be a gift. And because we don't know, when life hits us, we don't know the whole story. And so, assuming that we do, or living in a victimized state, or living in that state where, again, you're sitting on a couch and your entire life goes by, it's really a waste. And I know from my own experience, there's some mental toughness that has to happen to get through those circumstances. There's some things that need to grow stronger, and I need to build up your resilience, and to, really, again, find that passion in yourself, whether it's the willpower or whatever you're calling that, to make it through that. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like that experience when you're like, yes, and if it's looking around and having life synchronicity of the amazing people that you meet, and how, it's like those perfect footsteps that just line up, that lead you and somebody else in the direct path of each other. Like, I know that we have all experienced that, but as you start to build, and as you start to walk towards your purpose, I mean, isn't it amazing how much more frequently those start happening? Like those little things, as you become awake, aware, you're like, oh, and it took, out of an infinite number of possibilities, it was that one thing that came across their path that changed everything, right? I mean, that's how the world changes. That's those, and being awake and open and present for those moments. There's nothing like it.
Right.
There's nothing like it. It's like, to me, it's like that sheer aha. Like, regardless of how tough life has been, or how tough whatever it is that you're going through, or anything like that, it's that thing that's like, this I will carry with me for the rest of my life.
And, battle scars, being down, rock bottom. I mean, you shouldn't strive to have that problem and then bounce back from it. But people that are, you genuinely get down, you know what rock bottom is, and you know, the lower you crouch, the higher and the better your jump for the dunk is going to be.
Right.
And so I've hit low spots in my life, as far as being overweight, and I could have been that guy that wasn't overweight as a kid and just never really got to that peak health. And I'm still not at like what I want to be, but
Right.
I wake up in the morning, I work out a lot, and I feel really good because I do that. And the reason I do that is because I know what I don't want to be, and I can really say I
Right.
don't want to be that, and I really do know. And so if you are at a low point, that is a scar that can be healed. And that scar tissue can, like you like to say, like sometimes you got to go in the ways that you have healed and re-break that up. And
Right. Well, and as a massage therapist, I mean, how often does scar tissue, cause things to heal incorrectly?
Yeah, that's life. I mean,
Yeah.
life is going through a lot of friction, and you can even get good. You can get good at living. Which is, and yeah, it's hard. It's hard to talk about these key points all at once.
Yeah, I know, and we're covering a lot of information. And we can wrap it up here. I wanted to just as far as kind of what I'm trying to do and in my mission, I wanted to bring John into this. We're starting another mission, together. Again, we're starting that community. We're going to connect you with more people. We're going to connect you with more resources. And I know about, for me, like I don't put my stamp of approval on anything. It really has to resonate with me, and it's something that again has to have integrity, has to create results too, right? Because if you're not getting any results, then it's not working. So this is just something, being a part of and being able to promote the Grand Rapids Health House, and John, it's just, that is my passion. That's my love, and I'm excited to be able to do it. I know that hopefully I'm going to convince John to maybe talk a little bit more too with the total body transformation. And as we have people that are signing up for that, I want to be able to connect those people as well to John, just because again I think that there is just so much opportunity here to really get you the success that you've been looking for, to really get you the results that you've been wanting and maybe haven't gotten up to this point. And again, starting at that beginning level so you can learn how to build, in strength, and you can learn how to build, I guess I've always used the metaphor that if you build on a shaky foundation, inevitably it's gonna come crashing down, and that's okay. When we're talking about rock bottom, that's been a part of my life, and not everybody has to go again to that extreme. But if you've built your life on a bunch of belief systems that aren't true anymore, they do have to come down. They do have to fall apart, because in order for you to build on a stronger foundation, you need to start out at a balanced place, right? And to be able to take those steps forward, so next time maybe something like that happens, you're not going to rock bottom.
And fall. I mean, that's what running is falling. So you don't always have to stop. Because you can use that momentum that you have maybe in a bad place or in a bad setting, and use that momentum and swing around. Or you don't have to just try and stop, and neither that's not good for you either.
Yeah.
Someone who has shot their insulin levels, and they have been eating a lot of sugar, studies show, stuff like just quitting cold turkey doesn't work. So
right.
You can be proud of who you are, and be like, because life is an experience, and if you are into doing stuff that's bad for right. you, that's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. But we won't be able to do that fun as long.
Right.
That's just science. You can't eat all the sugar you want, and you can't drink as much as you want, and you can't just be sedentary all the time.
Yeah.
And there's a time for that. And
Yeah.
if that's what you really, really enjoy is that hour or so of TV and a bag of potato chips, you will have a longer time to do that if you do spend a little bit of time on your health.
Yeah.
Quantity, quality, and another thing is, sometimes, replacement stimuli, like if you get good at something, that Merck stops an effect of like talent and difficulty, and when you hit that peak of flow, and
I love that flow. I love it when I'm in that flow.
and that's no matter where you're at, you can get that because it's not. People get so discouraged with, well, I'm not running a 3.5K, and it's like, well, you can get the same thrill for so much cheaper,
right?
Because you're rich in inability,
right?
And so, I mean, if you want that psychological state, it costs so little,
right?
If you are bad at something.
Well, and again, I think too, in the transformation in kind of with my experience is that 80% of it is mental. 80% of it is getting your mental on board.
I would say 80% of it is nutrition.
Well, with nutrition,
but try eating healthy without motivation.
Right. Well, and and again, how do you? Because a lot of people, think that health is this lifestyle that you're sacrificing. They're like, oh my God, I don't want to do this because I'll never be able to eat chocolate cake again. Or, it's this sacrifice. But again, it's that mental where it starts of the stories that you're telling yourself, what you think you can do. And again, that to me, evaluation of self-love. Because when I made a decision that I loved myself and that I wanted to do better in life, the smoking fell away.
Right.
It
is a sacrifice. It is, and you gotta admit that to yourself, and you have to be, it is a sacrifice. But
if you're not, again, I want to challenge that mindset because if the rewards,
really quickly.
If the rewards, to me, if the rewards outdo what I'm giving up, it's not a sacrifice. It's a no-brainer.
Right.
I mean, if I can have better relationships, if I can have more impactful love in my life, if I can have more conversations that get me this worked up and this passionate about it, to me, then giving up all those bad behaviors were not a sacrifice. Now, do I pretend to live, an all organic lifestyle? No, I'm not there yet, but I'm making small changes to, better my nutrition, to better different things. And I just want people to understand that, choosing a life of health or intentional health or awareness is not not just about sacrifice, I guess, or not just about all of the things that they're giving up, because there is so much that they're gaining.
Dividends.
Yeah, it's just this. Again, there is nothing like it. There is absolutely nothing like it when
momentum.
And when you start getting into that flow, and when you start having those more purposeful experiences and connections, and you start seeing the fruits of your labor and your hard work. I mean, it's unbelievable. All right. Well, anyway, you guys, we're going to wrap this up. So, thank you, John, so much for doing this interview. Thank you for being the first one. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right, you guys, again, I'm going to put John's contact information for the Grand Rapids Health House. You can look him up on Facebook. Do you have an Instagram too?
Don't do
you
the
don't
Instagram
okay
thing.
We might need to work on getting him an Instagram, but as of right now, you can search the Grand Rapids Health House. He's on Facebook, and I'll throw his contact information as well as my contact information in there if you guys have any questions. If you guys want to get hooked up with John, email him, reach out to him. Again, it's if you're trying to make some good changes in your life, this is your guy. So everybody have a great day. Happy Friday, and we'll see you soon.